Hi Flosstube, I'm Rachel, Stitchy Rach, here on Flosstube and on Instagram. It's Sunday the 7th of August and this is a YouTube channel about cross stitch. Hi everyone! It feels like it's been a minute. It hasn't really. I've only missed, I know this one's like a couple of days late, but I've actually only missed one recording, but I think because I only record every 2 weeks, then that makes it feel like a really long time. But I have a bit to show you, so thank you for stopping by. Thank you if it's your first time coming to see me, and I hope you'll stick around and like what you see and maybe like and subscribe to my channel. So what have I been up to? Well, the reason I didn't film last 2 weeks ago is because we were going on holiday that day, and in my head I was like, that'll be fine, I can totally squeeze in a quick recording. And as usual I went into my complete whirling nightmare mode of going on holiday, and yeah, the day just descended. So no, I did not optimistically get a Flosstube recording in. So we've been away for 2 weeks. We'd got back Friday night and I thought, oh, maybe I'll be able to record Friday, and I just, no, after a 6-hour car journey I just really didn't want to do that. And yesterday was just trying to get straight from holiday, do all the washing, all the things. So this is quite an early recording for me. It's not 9 o'clock yet, and hence the wet hair. Sorry, I don't really believe in hair dryers. And the kids are still, you know, ensconced in Sunday morning goggling and switch playing and whatnot. And I've got another day of washing and trying to sort out the garden, which, you know, everything else is dead with all the dryness, but the weeds are not. I'm exaggerating a bit actually. The veg garden's looking alright. To be honest, only the things that I kind of expect to die at this time of year have gone. So the broad beans have gone, the peas have gone, but the beans are still there, the courgettes are doing fine, the corn's coming on, the brassicas are looking good. So I really need to go and just get in there and get some like hardcore weeding done now. And then try and sort out the other bits. Here in Kent, we're having a hose pipe ban starting on Friday. Everything is unbelievably dry. Like, I look out my window and all the fields are just yellow. It is quite crazy. So we were on holiday in West Wales, in Pembrokeshire, which was lovely. We had great weather, a few days of rain, so it wasn't looking quite so dry out there, but that's to be expected in West Wales. And we had, yeah, a lovely kind of beach holiday. Kids loved the sea, and we had the bodyboards, and we took our dog. And it's a long time since I've been to Wales, probably about 5 years. We used to go on holiday there a lot as a kid, and my cousin's Welsh, so we used to get out there fairly often. But I've never been there as a dog owner, and I just had completely forgotten how dog friendly it is. You can basically just take the dog everywhere. So yeah, that was fantastic. He had a great time as well. Yeah, we all just had a really good time. Few stresses. Car broke down while we were there, so on our way to the beach, car piled high, 3 kids, dog, car just, yeah. So the power steering went, and it's a big Land Rover, so that was a bit hairy. Fortunately I was not driving, my husband was driving. And then so we pulled over and we're like, oh, let's try and get back to the holiday house, and if we have to call recovery, it'll be, you know, at least we'll be where we need to be. So we turned around and then gone about 30 metres and we started getting engine overheating warnings and everything, so I had to pull over, had to get recovery out, had to organise cabs in rural Wales to get back to a very rural holiday house, had to get emergency hire cars, and then there was the panic about, oh, what if it can't be fixed in time to go home, because we have a massive Land Rover, we had a dog, we have a roof box on the Land Rover, we have a bike rack on the Land Rover. So anyway, it was fine in the end. All our contingencies about husbands getting trains back to Kent from Wales during train strikes, it didn't come to pass, so that was all fine. Then I thought I'd lost my watch on the beach one night, which was a rather miserable couple of hours, because I was all ready to go back to the beach after dinner and try and find it, and I thought, you know, which I knew was kind of a lost cause. The idea you're going to be able to find your watch on a sandy massive beach is unlikely, but I kind of, for me, had to do it. And then I said, I'll just go and check it didn't fall out of like the wetsuit bag while I was putting the wetsuits on the washing line to dry. And yeah, it was there in the grass near the washing line, so that was a relief. And then so we got home, all going well, and then my husband's been stung on his hand and his whole hand has like swelled up. Stung by a wasp on his hand. His whole hand has swollen up. It's like someone's got a rubber glove and blown into it, and all his fingers and his hands. So he's on antihistamines and ice packs and whatnot. So I think it is slowly getting better. Oh well. Anyway, so that's all kind of life, and now we're just into main parts of summer holidays, so play dates and trips out, and Tuesday we're going to get them into school shoes for next year and all the things of summer holidays. So yeah, that's what's going on with me. So not huge amounts of stitching time, and if you've been here before you will know that I say I am not a big holiday stitcher. So if you're new here you might think, wow, she's been on holiday, she's going to have loads to show us. I am not a good holiday stitcher. I play board games, I read, but I have done a bit of stitching on this holiday. I would say more than usual. I think I stitched about half the days in the holiday, not all massive stitching sessions, so still not huge amounts of progress, but probably more than usual. But we played Exploding Kittens and Carcassonne and Ticket to Ride, which is new to us, and I would strongly recommend that as a board game. And I read quite a few books, some good, some really, really awful. I do have a book highlight on my Instagram if you're interested in what I read that was truly, truly awful, but I won't name and shame it here. But you can, it is named and shamed on my Instagram, you can see it there. Right, so to the main content. I have today 3 whips. I have a finish. If you follow me on Instagram, you have seen this finish already, but I am super excited about this finish. It is a big one. I have some knitting and I have a little bit of haul, and then I'll talk to you about my plans after I've had my big finish. Yay! I'm so excited about this finish. So, without further ado, shall we start with the finish? Okay. So, if you follow me on Instagram, or if you've been here before, you'll know exactly what this finish is. It's this absolute beast. It is my Snoopy Afghan blanket. So this has been stitched for my eldest, who loves all things Snoopy and the Peanuts gang. I didn't look when I started it. I know I started it about February 2019. So it's kind of 3.5 years in the making. Not that it's been exclusively stitched on in that time, but about 3.5 years in the making. And I'm just so excited to have it done. I'm not going to attempt to show it all here because if you've seen it, you know it's massive. So what I will do is I will take a picture. I'm going to hang it up on the washing line. That was a tip from Kerry in Stitches. Thank you, Kerry. I'm going to hang it up on the washing line and I'll be able to take a really good picture of all of it. And I'm going to take pictures of the individual squares as well. And I will insert that here. Okay, so here we are in my extremely dry garden, and this is my full Snoopy Afghan. I'm afraid there is a little bit of a breeze, so it is wobbling around a bit, but hopefully you can see it quite well there. So that's the whole thing. As you can see, I kind of stitched it in 4 kind of concentric squares going out. So the middle is the Peanuts gang. And there's a storyboard of 4 Snoopy and Woodstock pictures on the next layer. The next layer is 4 different Snoopies and 4 different quotes. And the final layer is a full coverage dancing Snoopy in the corner and then members of the Peanuts gang. So that's the whole thing. So I'm going to zoom in now. Sorry, now I've got a tickle in my throat. I'm trying to hold the camera really still as well, so you don't get seasick. So I'm now going to zoom in and show you each square one by one. So here we go. So right in the middle we have the 1/1 of Charlie Brown, Snoopy, Woodstock, Lucy, Linus and Peppermint Patty. I'm sorry about the moving there, that is the breeze which suddenly decided to pick up a bit. Okay, and then round the outside of that we have the Snoopy and Woodstock storyboard, and now the wind's, sorry, it's not wind, it's just a gentle breeze, but it's really blowing it now. You've got woodstock coming down. I hope that's not making anyone feel a bit sick, that breeze. I'll see what this looks like. Woo, big one there. I might have to refilm this, we'll see. And there's Snoopy and Woodstock, and he's saying something and he's going, ah! And then they all look a bit subdued. So then the next round of squares, I'll start in the top left corner. It's Good Grief, which obviously Charlie Brown says a lot. We move across to Snoopy Woodstock sat on his head. Across to I Just Can't Stand It. Down to Snoopy with his bowl in the mouth, with Woodstock sat on it. And then down to Sigh. We're going to get another breeze bit now. And then along to Snoopy as Joe Cool, giving Woodstock a cuddle. And then You're Holding My Hand, Chuck, you sly dog, which I'll talk about more in my Flosstube. And there's Snoopy as the Aviator. And then on the final layer, we've got the first dancing Snoopy with the green background. We go along to Charlie Brown. And Lucy. And another dancing Snoopy in the corner. Down to Sally. And Linus. Sorry, another big bit of breeze. There's a big mucky mark on the bottom of that fabric, but that's going to be cut off. Oh, that's not helpful. There we go, there's Snoopy, maybe, you've seen that. Well, it's really not the moment for the breeze to have a big blow. Husband's just come to hold the corner. There's Peppermint Patty and Marcy. Another dancing Snoopy. Schroeder and Woodstock. And that's the lot. Okay, so hopefully you have seen the thing in all its glory, but I suppose there's a few things I would like to highlight that I will attempt to show you here. You will have seen on the picture that it is not the cleanest piece of fabric. There are some stains on the outside, but the stains are actually on bits of fabric that's going to be cut off. So for finishing, if you can see here, above the top square, I'm going to leave about half a square of material, but I'm going to fringe it. So I will zigzag across that band of the blanket, and then I'll pull this back as a zigzag. So don't worry about that staining on the outside. It's not going to be finished soon because obviously I am a little bit nervous about finishing this. I'm quite scared of the sewing machine, basically, is the truth. I don't like sewing machines. And my plan is, my youngest starts school properly this September. So for the first time in a decade, I'm kind of child-free during the day. And my plan is to just kind of take this year, and then I need to think about what I do with the rest of my life. Now I'm not looking after children full time. But anyway, digression. So my plan is, once I all settle back at school, I'm going to get the sewing machine out and properly get to grips with it. And so this is not going to be the first thing I finish. I have a few smalls that I will practice on, and you know, if they don't go entirely to plan, it's not going to be the end of the world. But obviously with the effort that's been put into this, I don't want this to be my trial piece on the sewing machine, but I will get there. I'll get there. I have the backing fabric for it. So I've got all the things, it's just getting the confidence to make sure I can do this properly. What I will say about sewing on these is actually the woven in boxes act as really good guides for the foot of the sewing machine, so it's not too difficult to stay straight, for one thing. But anyway, as I say, this was stitched for my eldest, who's a massive, massive Peanuts fan. It's stitched on 18 count and fabric by Zweigart. There is only one block on this that I have stitched 1 over 1, which is the middle block. Now you can stitch 1 over 1 and that gives you 18 count. All the other blocks are stitched over 2, which gives you 9 count, and I use 4 threads of DMC when I stitch over 2 on Afghan fabric. So this is the one that's 1 over 1 in the middle. As I say, all the rest are 2 over 2. The only other block I think I'll just highlight to you, and you've seen all the blocks now on the picture I took and inserted, so you know, hopefully you've managed to have a good look. And it is just, as you can see, it's just too big for me to try and in any meaningful way hold it up here. In fact, I'll show you 3 blocks. So, since I last saw you, in fact 4 blocks. Since I last saw you, I finished Dancing Snoopy. So there he is. Maybe I had that one done last time. Can't remember. I don't think I did. I think I was just finishing him off. So there you go. There's Dancing Snoopy. And then I came and did Schroeder while I was on holiday. There you go. There's Schroeder playing his piano. And then I came up and did Woodstock. And I think I did Woodstock in under 48 hours. I think just because he's all in one colour, he was really, really quick to stitch. Even though I had to put his eye in the wrong place. And so I had to go back and sort that out. Although I didn't pull it all out. When it's in a big bit of colour like that, what I've started to do when I need to fix something is actually just snip the stitch where it is, then pull out and tie those ends off a little bit, and then just restitch a little bit. So it does end up looking, it doesn't look too bad on the back. I'm quite neat. It's my back of my Woodstock. But he ends up with more ends than he would need. So there's back of Woodstock. Yeah, I do like my backs neat. So there what I finished since I last saw you. And then, as you see now, I've laid it out with the Peanuts gang in the middle, or some of the members of the Peanuts gang, and there's the little kind of storyboard of Snoopy and Woodstock around them. And then the next kind of layer out is 4 Snoopies, so like there's Aviation Snoopy, Joe Cool, etc. And then 4 kind of quotes in the corners. And obviously good griefs in there and whatever. But this one, "You're holding my hand, Chuck, you sly dog." That is a Peppermint Patty quote. Now, Peppermint Patty is my favourite member of the Peanuts gang. But obviously this is a fairly odd Snoopy Peanuts quote to put on your blanket. There are a lot more obvious ones. I had to chart that myself with some letters. Weirdly, it's not charted in any of the books. But the reason I picked that is that when my daughter, who this blanket is for, was 2, I don't even think she was 3. 2 or 3, she was very little. I think she must have been 2 because I don't think my second was born. Anyway, doesn't matter, she was very little. And we were having breakfast one morning. Me, her and my husband. And me and my husband were sat opposite each other, and she was kind of sat at the end of the table to my right. And she kind of leant across the table, like across the corner of the table, and took my hand and looked really intently into my eyes and went, "You're holding my hand, Mummy, you sly dog." And we were just fell about. Because she'd been watching Peanuts, and we just absolutely fell about. So it had to go on. It had to go on. But I'm super proud of this finish. As I say, 3.5 years in the making. Absolutely delighted. This was one of my focus goals for this year, to get this piece done. And it is done. I suppose now I should give myself a focus goal for getting it FFO'd by the end of the year. That would be a challenge. If you're new here, I am not good at FFOing things, but one of my goals once the kids are at school in September is to get more confident with my sewing machine. So, you know, targets, goals and targets. Anyway, that is my big finish. My big finish. Yeah, feeling really good about that. So, on to whips. Sorry, I kind of chain drink tea in the morning. It's probably not a great time for me to film. And I always have a cup of tea when I film it. Gosh, I really chain drink tea. Now, I cannot remember where really any of these whips were when I last saw you. I could have gone and watched my last film, I suppose, but I didn't. So, anyway. So the next whip up is Seize the Day by Caterpillar Cross Stitch. I have been working on this as my out and about project. Didn't take it on holiday, don't do out and about stitching on holiday. And obviously now it's the summer holidays, out and about stitching falls off a cliff. So out and about stitching for me is the stitching I do whilst my children are at various after school clubs and activities. And I just am waiting around and I take some stitching with me and stitch on a particular project. So it tends not to be what I'm working on in the evening, because it tends to be something that can be a little bit more portable. Anyway, so I have been working on Seize the Day, and I have absolutely no idea where this was when you last saw it. I'm just going to move that needle because it's just where it is going to make it quite difficult for you to see. So yeah, don't know. But anyway, here's where it is now. So I think maybe I did that cone of chips and I've come down and I've started a sandcastle. I don't know what I'd done. I don't know if I'd done that sign, if I'd finished that. But anyway, there I am. So we're getting there. I have nearly finished the beach now, I think. What's left on the beach? Yeah, basically just these two sandcastles, and then I've finished all the beach motifs. I've still got this plane to do in the sky, and I've left the infill of the sign because that has the year on. So, I mean, I should finish that this year, but I don't want to preemptively think I will. So that's where I am with that. And that is probably realistically not going to come out till September now. And, you know, everything starts up again. But that's where I was on that one. This is stitched, I'm out of practice, look. This is stitched on 32 count linen in the colour Gold Rush from Crafty Kitten Fabrics, who are no longer in business. It's by Caterpillar Cross Stitch. You can still get it as a kit or a PDF on their website. I started it as a SAL in 2019. Obviously didn't keep up with the SAL. And it's stitched in all the called for DMC, pretty much. So that's that one. I think I've whizzed through that because it's so long since I stitched on that myself that I can't really remember what's going on. Oh, can I just say, if I haven't said it before, I love de-kitting. So yesterday I de-kitted my Snoopy and I just love doing that. I love taking everything out of the project bag. I love putting all my DMCs and my threads away. I love putting the patterns away. Yeah, I get some kind of weird perverse kick out of de-kitting something. Yeah, it's nice to put all the things back in the stash. I really enjoy doing it. It's a bit weird, I think. Okay, now last time I saw you, I have remembered this. Last time I saw you, I had just started this next whip, which is Maria Juanaria, 1833 to 34. This is by Queenstown Sampler Designs, and sorry about the glare, that is a real photo on the front of that, and that's why it's a bit glary. Now I started this for Crafting Kirsty's birthday sale, which was the Wonky Donkey B-Day sale 22. I'd have to check that hashtag. I'll put a thing here with the proper hashtag. So I'd just done a little start when I saw you a couple of weeks ago, and I carried on stitching on this for a few more days. I don't know exactly how many, sorry. But I did carry on stitching on it for a few more days, but I didn't get huge amounts of progress. Obviously I'm doing this with Crafty Kirsty, who did not start on her birthday, although she has now done more than me, and Ellie Welly Stitcher, who got a good start as well. They both started with the border, and I've done a centre start on this, so mine does look a bit different to theirs. But here is where I am. Now I've done that angel, little cherub thing, and the hearts it's holding. Sorry, I should have ironed this because it's really, really, really wrinkled. Such a massive piece of fabric. And then I've started a berry bowl below it. I don't know if you can see that. So it's this bit right in the middle. There's some cherubs and then a berry ball beneath them. Hard to see. Such a massive chart. I mean, it is a ridiculously huge chart. It's, can I find it? 357 high by 447 wide. So the fabric is massive. Yeah. I'm stitching this on 36 count linen, 2/2 on fabric I dyed myself. I'm pretty pleased with the fabric actually. Yeah, I dyed that myself, and I am using all the called for DMC on this one. I didn't go for, it's charted in MPS, needlepoint silks. So yeah, there's my little start. I don't know when I'm going to get back to this, but I think this one may be a whip for a long time. A long time. Although, you never know. Next year, I'm certainly not going to get it finished next year, but oh ow, just the needle now stuffing through it in an awkward place. But I'm thinking of doing a no new starts next year. If I finish my other big goal for the year, I'm thinking I'm going to do no new starts and just spend some time loving all the whips I've started over the last 2 years and then haven't really been able to pay a lot of attention to. So that may well get a bit more love next year. Might be kind of a swee-wee, stitch what you want when you want kind of year. Because this year has been very goal orientated on 2 massive finishes. So that's where I am with Maria. Not very far, but a start. It's not like a one thread start, is it? You know, it's a noticeable, a motif is done start. And then what I have been working on over the last few days, since I finished Peanuts, I took this other project. So this is on my WIPGO board as to get 1 week stitching. I think I've now done 5 days. So I think today and tomorrow, and then I've achieved the WIPGO goal on this piece. And this is kept in a House of Stitch and Stash project bag. It used to be in her Bag of the Month club, which I don't think she's running this year. But this is Rika King House of Stitch and Stash. They're really good project bags. Really squidgy. Really squidgy. Anyway. So, and this that I've been working on is Jane Marshall 1857. This is by Hands Across the Sea Samplers, and you can get it on their website as a PDF download. I bought this at the beginning of 2020 as a fundraiser for the wildfires in Australia. I don't think it's a fundraiser anymore, but it is still available on their website. So that's that. And here's where I am. So as I say, I count a stitching day. So as just said, before I show you this, that it's down for 7 days stitching on my WIPGO board. Now I know some people count days of stitching as, oh, I need to do this many hours. I don't. My life doesn't work like that. I have 3 children. Life can be chaotic. So however many stitches I get in on a calendar day, whether that's 1 or 300, I never get 300. That's how much, that's a day's stitching to me. So although this has had 5 days stitching, some of those days are not very many. Some of those days were like 1 letter. But anyway, I will show you where I am. I am, fold it in half. Yeah. So I think on the holiday I finished that red and yellow checkered line across. And then I've done the whole of that blue alphabet and that kind of little blue and pink zigzag motif. And then I've done that line below. So another 2 days on that. I'm hoping, before I put it away, to finish, let's see, finish the line above the numbers, do those numbers and do the line below. And I might even get a little bit further than that. But if I achieve that in the next 2 days, I will feel really good about that. And then I think this one should be a finish next year. I think I've already started populating a WIPGO board for 2023, and I think I've put this one on to finish. I am stitching this on 36 count clotted cream. That's the colour, and that's showing pretty true. I know I've got a bit of shadow this morning because the sun's in a funny place. It's not my normal time to film. And this is Fabrics by Foxglove Lace. Oh, let's get this one right. Foxglove Lace and Linen. Yeah, Foxglove Lace and Linen. So that's what I'm stitching it on. It's charted in, I think it gives you a range of options actually. It's charted in Soie Safine, Soie d'Alger or DMC, and I'm doing none of those. I did a colour conversion from Stash, which is here. There you go, there's my colour conversion. It's pretty similar to what it's charted in, but they are a mixture of colour and cotton and classic colourworks. I don't think there's anything else in there. Yeah, it's all classic colourworks, all colour and cotton, and when I've finished, I'll happily share the colour conversion if anyone's particularly interested in that. But yeah, that's my progress so far. As I say, this will tick off a goal on my WIPGO board after the next 2 days. So yeah, pleased with that progress. Okay, and then I did some knitting. This is kept in a pouch by Penelope's Pocket. She does also vinyl fronted project bags, and I think she's going to be releasing some big kind of project bag totes soon, so I'm all over those. I've got my alert set up ready for when she posts them. No one's allowed to buy one before me, because a couple of times recently I've really liked some of her previews of her project bags, and by the time I've got it, they've all gone. So too popular, Sarah. Really glad for you, but less glad for me. Anyway, this is my pouch that the dog ate to get at my cowl, so it doesn't actually zip up anymore, and it does have a bit of like a tooth mark here over the, you can't really see it actually, over the bird. Can you see that? So I do need to replace this, but anyway, in here I have got my roulade scarf. I bought this at Loop London in the beginning of 2020, before lockdown. And I cast it on after I finished my cowl because the cardigan's kind of too big to take place with me. So I've done a lot of this stitching on the knitting on the car journey from Kent to Pembrokeshire, because while I find it hard to stitch in a car because you're looking at pattern and I do get a bit car sick, knitting in the car is a lot easier, particularly when it's not a difficult knitting pattern. So this is just ribbing. And this is where I am. So where was I? I think, I can't remember where it was last time. I haven't put a stitch marker on, but basically I've definitely done most of these stripes. And I would have done more, but so it's a knit 2 purl 2 rib. You can see that. And I got kind of probably 4 stripes in, and I was having real problems, and I kept making mistakes. I'm like, why can't I count to 2? And actually then I realised I had dropped 1 stitch about 5 rows back and hadn't realised, and so it was mucking up my counting for everything else, and I'm not a good enough knitter to pick it up, and I don't think I could, because I think it had made such a mess of the rows above it that I couldn't just pick it up. Anyway, so I pulled it back 5 rows and picked up the stitch and re-knit it all. So I would have got further had I not had that massive, well, it wasn't massive, but I am getting more confident in my knitting, because not very long ago, and I didn't even watch a YouTube video to pull it back, and not long ago, having dropped a stitch 5 rows ago would have been like throw it in the bin time. So I'm feeling a lot more confident with my knitting, and that I can do stuff and correct stuff. So that's really exciting for me. This is stitched in, I bought this as a kit, and it's stitched in this wool. Focus on the wool and not on me. Nearly wants to. Too close. Not close enough. Anyway, it's called Cameo. It's Peruvian and it's 50% llama wool, 50% lamb's wool. It is quite like hairy, you know, like Angora. I don't think you can really see it, but it is kind of, yeah, it does kind of have a little hairy bit. That made it quite difficult to pull back as well, obviously, because all the hairy bits all get knotted together. Anyway, that's where I am. How many rows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm on the 8th stripe of pink, so maybe if I get some knitting done over the next couple of weeks, I'll be able to show it to you. Although again, I'm not sure if there'll be a lot of knitting time, so. But that's where I am with that. I'm going to be keeping my beady eyes out for Penelope's project tote bags. Sarah told me she had them on the cutting table yesterday, so I'll be watching this week, making sure I get in there fast. And then I've got a teeny tiny bit of haul. So I've got, you'll have all have seen this. This is the Cottage Garden Samplings Barn Owl from the Year in the Woods series. I'm on an auto ship of this from Peakside. I really like this owl. I love his back and I love his face. But there's something about that neck I find a bit weird. Does anyone else feel like that? Because if you see an owl, and we get barn owls around here, if you see one in real life, they don't really have a neck. Because owls can kind of, their spines are twisty, aren't they? And they can nearly go 180 with their heads, but their like heads are like squashed into, I'm sure if you stripped all the feathers off they'd have a neck, but when they're feathery they kind of don't really have a neck. Their head goes into their shoulders and I just, yeah, that neck kind of troubles me a little bit. I really like it, the body and the head. So I might, if I ever get around to stitching it, I might see if I can kind of drop the head down a bit. I wonder if you could kind of take off these white feathers and just shove the head down into the body a bit. I think I would feel happier with it. Does anyone know what I mean? Or am I just speaking absolute rubbish? Anyway, so that. And then I got my thread club, my classic Colourworks thread club from Lakeside Needlecraft. So this is, you get 10 classic Colourworks just to get a full set of classic Colourworks every month. And they send them in alphabetical order. And mine are all modelled up because I took them out and had a look at them. But I got crab cakes. These all showing pretty true. The light's pretty good in here this morning. Creamy peach. Deep blue sea. Dandelion stem. Country lane. Creeping Jenny. Crushed pineapple, quite like that. Quite mellow yellow. Cupid, great red. Cherry cobbler. Desert Mystique, which I think I am using in my Jane Marshall. Let's have a look. I think that is one of the colours I'm using in my Jane Marshall. Yeah, it is. And last but not least, Deep Fennel. So I'll go and put all those away now. And that's all I've got for you. Well, we could talk about plans very quickly. So I've kind of got all out of sync with my WIPGO because I just decided I was just going to hammer that peanuts blanket till it was done. So I have ticked off a load of squares on my WIPGO that aren't necessarily called. I'm hoping it's all going to work itself out in the wash. But my plan after I've done my 2 days on Jane Marshall is to get my big other goal out, which is my Bouncing Babies ABC by Lucy Heaton, and I'm just going to go hell for leather on it and just see how much I can get done in August, which isn't a heavy stitching month for me because children are at home and etc. And then it's my birthday at the beginning of September, so next time I film I'll talk a little bit more about my birthday sound, but I'll be starting with the Needle 2 by Lila's Studio. I think Crafting Kirsty's going to start that with me, but if anyone else wants to start that with me as well, or if you're already working on it, you're very welcome to use my hashtag, but I'll talk all about that a little bit more next time. So until I see you in a couple of weeks, Hope you enjoy your stitching. I think World War III is breaking out with the kids downstairs, so I need to make a move. And I'll see you soon. Bye, stitches.